Reverend Donald Smith. This is Mary Conley, 69 years of age. From 1975 of May until November of 77, I worked at JSO, primarily in the National Information Crime Center, NCIC, and I was a dispatcher. And we worked 3 to 11, 11 to 7, and 7 to 3. We had to wear navy or black slacks, and they gave us shirts, little white shirts with the JSO emblem on each shoulder and a name tag over the front left pocket. I lived on Palm Avenue. It was a red brick apartment. There were 2 rows, almost like a motel, because it was like 8 on top and 8 on the bottom, and I was on the south side end with jalousie windows, and I got off on 11 o'clock. Well, sometime between 11 and 1, I decided that I needed to have some pasta with Hunt sauce and cheddar cheese sprinkled on it. I had a stove in that apartment and some rental furniture I'd bought, I think. Anyway, so I had a Honda Civic. It was orange, had blue seats, kind of blue and gray seats inside. I thought it looked like a little gator car, right? So there was an all-night, 24-hour Albertsons up on University, several miles away, but open 24 hours. So I said, you know what? I don't know what I had in my apartment, canned enchiladas. I don't know, but I didn't want it. So I said, I'm going to make some pasta and put some cheese and sauce on it. So I headed to Albertsons, and I went down San Jose to University. I turned left on University and went all the way to the Albertsons store that was there. And I picked up what I wanted. And, I had my uniform on still, the little navy blue or black slacks and the white shirt, and with the JSO on it. And I came back, and I almost made it back to San Jose. And at the time, there were some 1950 cinder block homes. They had once been residential, but now they were for like doctor's offices, a law firm, photography, whatever. It was right along there. I think there's a Winn-Dixie across the street now, but it was almost to San Jose. I heard flop, flop, flop. So I knew my tire was flat. So I pulled over in the access lane, the little white area, and I looked back and forth, and nobody's around. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I think it might have been during the summer. I'm not sure. But a police car did come by, and I said, I've got a flat tire, and he had a beard. During the bicentennial, which was 1976, 200 years, they had let the police grow beards. And he said, I'll come back. Well, he never did come back. So I had an X-shaped crowbar or wrench, whatever you want to call it. And I began to try to figure out, there's a little slot, and there's a little black thing shaped like a diamond, and you put that in there, and you start lifting up the car, right? But first you have to loosen the bolts. I figured that out, because at first I lifted, and then you couldn't do the bolts, so I had to lower it back down. And then this tan brown car, could have been something like a Nova. It was a family sedan, and I would call it a light shade of brown, almost like a brown metallic. A guy gets out. He's quite tall. He had crinkly red, blonde, brown hair. You know what I'm saying? And at that time, he was in my age bracket about. He was quite tall, and he seemed stoned. And he stood away from me in the road by his car. And he had a not needle nose, but like a wrench that you know what I'm saying? You go like this. And I'm thinking, my dad's an aircraft mechanic and an auto mechanic, and that's not what you use on a car. I mean, I guess in an emergency you could. And he stood there, and he was wearing a leather suede jacket. It might have been phony. They have the fake suede material, and bell bottoms, the wide belt. His hair was pulled back in a ponytail, because that's the way the guys wore it. But it was crinklish, reddy blonde. He was ruddy colored, because there was enough street light to see. He's white, Anglo-Saxon, quite tall. And to this day, and I can't say this one like I did Theodore Bundy, because this is weird, his hips, the way he stood, most people go side to side, right? Like a monkey, go side to side if you're anxious or tired or you're not thinking straight. But he would go back and forth like Elvis. You know what I'm saying? He moved his hips like, he moved his hips oddly. That's why I think it might have been Donald Smith. Now, obviously, you can check his parents and see if he would have been in and out of jail at that time. But he looked at my shirt, and then I said, well, the policeman's coming right back. He's going to be right back. And I was starting to get nervous. I went up on the sidewalk. I had been out by my tire, but I went up on the sidewalk, and I'm thinking, there's nobody in these houses. There are doctor's offices, there are photography office. There's nobody in there. Dentist office, whatever they were. They're like 3 houses. Seemed like there might have been kind of creamsicle and white. Most of them were white. They had signs, Maybe one was for sale. I don't remember, but there was nobody. It was 1:30 in the morning. I'm waiting for the policeman to come back, so I went ahead and did it. And in my mind, and this could be wrong, it seemed like the tire, I could see black and white. Like, I don't know what caused that tire to be flat. There really was no reason for it to be flat. I kept my stuff up, right? And my dad, about a week or so later, he says, why are your nuts on backwards? And I said, oh, I'd had a flat tire and I had to use a spare. And so he put them on the right way. Apparently they were sticking out. And they were put on backwards. And it was an automatic. A good little car. Remember the little orange Honda cars? But anyway, the way he swayed his hips, there was just something about the way. He never talked. He didn't say, I'll help you or anything. Like, he had this wrench. He held it up to the sky. And I'm thinking, that's not the right kind of wrench. And I said, the policeman came by. He's going to come back any minute. Thank you. No, thank you. And it was a brown sedan. And I thought, most guys wouldn't want that particular car because it looked like a family car, like a goldish brown Plymouth or Nova or something. It just didn't look like a Nova they might have wanted, but it was like I can't describe it. It was a family sedan looking vehicle. Okay, you tell me. I've looked it up, and his family didn't live but about 3 blocks from there. Okay, and I never knew how that tire went flat. Thank you.